Good evening. I'm Leland Vittert. On the program tonight, is there any reason to believe Biden and company on the economy? How social media companies always avoid responsibility for destroying teenagers' lives, and the lawyer who says he's found their Achilles heel. Plus, NASA now says they can do what the Pentagon cannot, and find out if these really are UFOs from another world. The dangers of letting scientists take over from the generals. But first, on point tonight, since his inauguration, President Biden and his administration have told varying stories about the economy. All of them have proven to be wrong. That is not a political statement, it is a statement of fact. Today's inflation numbers are again the worst in 40 years. It is, of course, not all President Biden's fault. It's not the fault entirely of his policies. But at every turn, their projections have proved wrong, and their solutions have proved lacking. Let's go back about 11 months to July 19th of last year. Here is the president.
Our experts believe, and the data shows, that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary.
The data shows anything but. Since then, eggs are up $1.22 a dozen. Gas is up $1.83 per gallon. Gas, of course, goes into everything, and it hits the middle class the hardest. Consider this. The cost to fill up America's most popular cars, Ford F-150, when the president took office, $56, now $115. A Honda Civic was $30, now $62. Toyota Camry, the president took office, it was $38, now $79. In case you need more proof, back in November, as inflation took hold, President Biden celebrated the infrastructure bill, the billion-dollar spending bill, spending $1 billion that we didn't have. And he predicted then that spending that money would lower inflation.
According to economic experts, this bill is going to ease inflationary pressures, lowering the cost of working families.
Since then, the inflation rate is up nearly 2%. 1.8% may not sound like much, but month after month, these things have a compounding effect. Since May, gasoline up 49%, utility gas up 30%, electricity up 12%. At every turn, President Biden's economic predictions proved wrong, but his solutions to the core problems haven't worked. Remember who he's blamed along the way: Putin, the GOP, supply chains and COVID, oil companies, meat packers, grocery stores, big corporations, and now shipping companies.
These companies have raised their prices by as much as 1,000%, while raking in just less than $190 billion in profit. By the way, one thing I want to say about the oil companies, they talk about how they have 9,000 permits to drill. They're not drilling.
The American people simply don't buy it. The chart you see right now graphs President Biden's approval rating against gas prices, charted against inflation. It should look very similar if you charted his approval numbers against rising inflation. Gas prices are at an all-time high. His approval rating is at an all-time low. Part of the reasons are his promises to fix it. Tapping the Strategic Petroleum Reserve didn't work. Blaming oil companies didn't work. Threatening oil companies didn't work. Putting more ethanol into gas didn't work. And the president continues to be wrong about the economy. For example, here he is today.
Every country in the world is getting a big bite and piece of this inflation, worse than we are in the vast majority of countries around the world.
A list of just a few of the countries with lower inflation includes Mexico, France, Switzerland, Italy, China, Canada, and we could go on, but we don't have the time. Forget for a second if you support Mr. Biden or not. Forget for a second if you broadly agree with his policies or not. If he's been wrong this many times about the economy, if his experts that he listens to have been wrong over and over and over again, why would he suddenly prove correct going forward? Think about that, and we'll put the president aside for a second. Now to his Treasury secretary. This was her last year.
I personally believe that this represents transitory factors.
That was exactly a year ago. Transitory inflation. It has not been transitory. It's here, It's roaring, and it's gotten a lot worse since last June, which perhaps proves the adage that economists are like weathermen, among the very few professions in the world where you can be wrong 60% of the time and keep your job. Here she is yesterday.
We have a very strong economy. I know people are very upset, and rightly so, about inflation, but there's nothing to suggest that inflation and that a recession's in the works.
Well, actually, the economy contracted last quarter. That's fancy speak for not good, and the American people know it, which begs the question why Mr. Biden and company continue to tell us things that we know and feel not to be true. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.